It's something I don't do enough, is share the negatives around the hobby and how things can go wrong. Hi everyone, so those of you familiar with my fish tanks and layout will know that I'm not in my fish room today. I'm actually in by this tank, which is in my living room. It's the tank I get to spend the most amount of time watching, enjoying, and probably gets the most attention of all my fish. Despite that, there have been a few issues lately, so I just wanted to do a quick video explaining what's been going on, potentially why I've not been putting some content out about this tank. I felt a bit frustrated with it. So yeah, I just thought I'd share what's been going on with this aquarium. Also some exciting news and a bit of a big maintenance session, because I mean, you can see behind me the Java fan has completely taken over, and there's a few sort of brown leaves that have just been left in there that need pulling out, and some of the crypt leaves, older crypt leaves, got some holes in now. So a bit of a pruning session, bit of a tidy up, and a general update on this tank's progress. Yeah. So I guess the first place to start is an update on the samurai gouramis. There was a video, I'll put it into the description, previously about me adding the samurai gouramis into this tank. They were replacing the wild bettas, the betta hendras that I had, because they didn't seem to get on with this tank, and it turns out nor did the samurai gouramis. So they went through quarantine for a month before I moved them into this aquarium. They were looking really good, they were feeding really well on dry food. There was no issues, no signs of any problems, didn't lose a single one. So I thought everything was fine. I already had a large female that was living quite happily in here. And that was 4 or 5 months ago now, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I'm back down to 1. So I went from 1 to 11, and now I'm back down to 1. And it's not the original. So yeah, I've lost quite a few. So I've had no issues with any of the chiliboras or the halfbeaks, the shrimps. They've all been absolutely fine. All of this was just issues with the samurai gouramis themselves. The only symptoms that I saw, other than the fish dying, was one of their eyes would become slightly enlarged, bulging, and clouded. And now this sort of symptom can be sort of physical wounds from aggression or hardscape or something like that, handling I suppose, or it could be sort of poor water quality. That generally means it's sort of allowed an infection to happen to the eye. And I've done a lot of research on that. I've even spoken to an aquatic vet. Luckily I know of one, so I chatted to him about sort of issues with the eyes, and pretty confidently he said that if it's just one eye, it's much more likely to be some sort of physical damage and it will heal, and if it's both eyes, it's much more likely to be a poor water quality or bacterial infection. And now, I only ever saw it in one eye. I did try and take some photos of it back to show people. I'll see if I've still got them. I do not have enough space on my phone. So I do often sort of delete old images that I no longer need. So if I've got one, I'll add it in, but if not, yeah, it just had one sort of quite clouded over eye. And that happened on multiple fish, not just one, but not all at the same time. So, I mean, seeing just fish sort of slowly wither away, and the only symptom being this damage to one eye, it's the only thing I can put it down to is aggression between them. I've got one left now. It's a smallish male. The last 3 that were surviving was this male and the original female and the largest fish from the new 10 that I introduced, which was also a male. And I did see before I lost the original female and the largest male that they paired up and they'd spawned. The male had a big throat full of eggs, was constantly moving around, and the female was constantly harassing him and causing him to drop some of the eggs. And I visibly saw 2 eggs pop out of his gill and the female rush in and eat them. So there was definitely some squabbling going on between the two. And then I never had another breeding event, and they seemed to just carry on picking on each other. And they got a clouded eye, the female first, I think it was. And yeah, unfortunately I lost her, and I unfortunately lost the largest male too. And the survivor actually did have a clouded eye when there was 3 of them left, and that's now healed up perfectly well, and he's doing really well now. So I really do think it was potentially aggression that caused this. I never picked up on any water quality issues. My nitrogen wastes have always been sort of, well, 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and sort of below 10 nitrate. So yeah, I mean, there's no real reason for it to be a water quality issue that I can see. And none of the other fish seem to have any issues. It was only the samurai gouramis, which makes me think it's probably not some sort of bacterial infection or pathogen that's going to be spread between different species, but much more likely to have been caused by the interspecies. Intra? Can't remember which one is between species and which one is within species. Whichever one that is, yeah, aggression between the gouramis themselves and not anything else. So, I mean, where do I go from here? I've got one left. He's doing brilliantly. Do I try and get some more? Do I not? I don't really know. How confident am I that it's aggression? I suppose you can never rule out other causes. I can't say for definite. But I mean, I had a group of 11, so the aggression should have been spread out equally between everyone. There was a clear dominant pair, and the others sort of stayed in more juvenile coloration. They're in a metre-long, heavily planted botanical tank with subdued lighting, plenty of floating cover. I honestly don't know what else could have been added or changed to ensure that these fish didn't kill each other, basically. They've got small chilirosporas, diver fish to chase away, and they didn't ever seem to bother any of the other fish. So yeah, I mean, if any of you guys have had success with any of the chocolate gouramis, do let me know if you've ever seen any issues with the aggressions and sort of weaker individuals just slowly withering away, getting damaged. But yeah, I honestly, I kept trying. I tried treating some of the individuals with antibacterial sort of medications, and just got absolutely no success. Never saw any improvement from any of the medications I've used. And yeah, every time I pulled a injured or sick looking fish out to try and treat, they never recovered. So they're always too far gone. Now, the tank just feels a little bit empty. There's over 20 chilirosporas in here. There's the 6 halfbeaks and 1 gourami. But there's nothing sort of going on at the bottom other than the shrimps. The halfbeaks obviously stay at the surface. The chilirosporas are often up here waiting for food, up in amongst the floating plants. Again, they're beautiful. I love the tank and I love the fish, but I think it needs something else. And I really hope the gourami would be that, or the betters before that. So I'm a bit torn about what to add into this tank now. I'm thinking more chilirosporas. Let's get an even bigger group of them. I think that will look really nice and effective and natural. Maybe I do love the Parasimonas licorice gouramis. Maybe a group rather than keeping them in pairs like I normally do. Maybe a group of, say, Parasimonas filamentosus or something like that would stay down the bottom. But I did speak when I was having issues with the Beta Hendra about the depth of this tank. It's, I think, 40, maybe 50 centimeters deep. And someone did mention that the betters might be a bit stressed being in such deep water, being bubble nesters, they need to get to the surface, and maybe they weren't able to. So would I get the same issues with Parasimonas? I mean, it's possible. I always keep them about maximum 30 centimeters of water, depth of water, so maybe this would be too deep for them as well. Do I try samurai gouramis again, or another one of the sort of chocolate gourami species, one of the slightly cheaper, easier to get hold of ones? Maybe I could get them captive bred, more used to sort of locally captive bred, reduce the amount of stress that the fish have to go to before they come to me. What would you do? What Borneo species would you put in here? I suppose I could actually move the barbs back in. The 6-banded barbs were absolutely beautiful in here. Perhaps they'd come back in here and they'd look really good. Although I think maybe they might have been a bit too boisterous for the Halfbeaks as well, and they might outcompete them a bit. And I do really want to try and keep trying to get some eggs from these Halfbeaks and breed them. So maybe that's not the best idea. So yeah, things to decide on. Not too sure which way I'm going to go just yet. It might be that an opportunity arises to get some sort of one of these species that I'm interested in keeping, locally bred, or just really good specimens come in and I take the plunge and that makes my decision for me. The other option is obviously maybe just go for smaller shoaling species, maybe some Sundandeños, the sort of neon blue Rasboras. They'd look quite nice in contrast, really nice with the chili Rasboras. Maybe just have a big group of those and a big group of chili Rasboras and the Halfbeaks, and just let it be sort of lots of little darts of colour going around the tank. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where else to go with that, but I'll keep you all updated if I do make a decision, of course. So what else has gone on in this tank? The Halfbeaks did lay some eggs. I managed to find 2 eggs. I added some Limnophilia sessiflora cuttings to the surface, and within a few days I found an egg laid in that. So neither of the eggs that I found developed at all. They died within sort of 2 days. They never got to see a fry forming inside the egg. But I'm gonna try again. I've taken the plant out for a bit, and then I was having issues with these gouramis and just wanted to focus on that. So now I failed at that, I'm going to try and go back to see if I can get the Halfbeaks to spawn again. So I'll update you if I see any more eggs or if I get any fry from them. Also, I've got quite a lot of blackbeard algae going on in here. No, actually, I think it looks quite natural. I'm not planning on sort of attacking it with chemicals just yet. It's part of an ecosystem, part of an environment, and actually submerged wood would never be pristine. It's not really what happens in nature, and this is very much a natural inspired botanical method aquarium where those sorts of things need to be embraced and it adds to the ecosystem. So yeah, I'm just gonna, for now, leave it to it. It's not covering the plants, so I'm happy with it. If it starts smothering the leaves of all the Java ferns and the crypts, then maybe I'll think differently and start attacking it with some sort of liquid CO2s. But for now, I think it adds to the natural feel of the ecosystem. And yeah, I need to add some more botanicals as well. You'll see there's a lot of bare substrate here. I'm really struggling to get hold of some live Texas oak leaves, which is what I wanted to use, in their small size and shape look really natural and really quite effective in this tank. So when I get hold of some of those, I'm gonna to start adding back into the botanical layer, but for now it's looking a bit bare. So if I can't get any soon, I'm gonna have to find an alternative. a different small leaf. I don't want to use anything big like I do in the other tanks, like magnolia and stuff, and catappa, but they're all just too big and would ruin the effect with all the small fish in this tank. I think smaller leaves to keep the sense of scale correct is better. So yeah, I mean, that's it really on this tank. And then something to update, which is not so linked to this tank, is that I've got a nice little box of goodies from NT Labs to try out, and I'm going to be doing a maintenance session on this tank. There's quite a lot of green spot algae coming on the surface, so I'm going to use one of their products in here that they kindly sent to me, which is the algae sponge. So I'm going to see how I've heard really great things about this sponge and how effective it is at getting rid of the really stubborn green spot algae. So I'm going to be able to give it a try for myself, and you guys will see as well how much effort I have to put into to get this glass nice and clean. So yeah, feel free to keep watching if you are interested in sort of some more sort of maintenance stuff and some time lapses and maybe some close-up videos once I've got the glass clean of some of the fish. Otherwise, feel free to stop watching here because you've heard all the important bits. That's maintenance all done on this tank, and it's all nice and filled back up. I've given the glass a quick wipe on the outside as well, to get ready for a bit of close-up filming and photography. I've just got some concentrated tannins here from soaking some schema pods for my new biotope inspired layout upstairs, because I didn't want too much tannins in that tank. I've leached them all out prior to use, and I'm going to use them on this tank to top up while I don't have any live oak leaves. So let's add this into the flow, and then time to take some photos. So you can't really see much of a difference in colour, but there'll just be a slight hue to the water hopefully. And I've got a little bit more, I just don't want to go overboard and add too much in one go. When you're working with concentrated tannin solutions, you really don't want to add too much. You don't want to cause too much of a change in parameters. And they've just experienced quite a bit of stress with the water change, so keep it small, little and often and every day, so you get some tint back into this tank. So obviously today's topic with sort of fish losses and stuff and issues isn't always the nicest thing to talk about, but I think it's something I don't do enough is share the negatives around the hobby and how things can go wrong. Everything can look perfect on social media, and it's, for newcomers, it's very difficult to know that actually things do happen with experienced keepers, with everyone, and people just don't share it. So yeah, I thought it's the right thing to do to talk about what's going on, what's happened to the samurai gouramis, and yeah, don't be afraid to share the negatives as well. That's basically what I'm getting at. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as you could. I didn't really enjoy talking about it, but yeah, onwards.